Hey, this is Nick Williams, the one and only Medicare Millionaire. And I'm going to talk to you about the greatest salesman that ever lived. As a matter of fact, this person is in the Guinness World Book of Records. I have a book in my hand here, and it's the Feldman Method, and it's about Ben Feldman. And when I say the greatest salesman that ever lived, a lot of people will probably think of Og Mandino and his book, The Greatest Salesman Ever Lived. This is different, obviously different. Salesman selling stuff for money. And anyhow, Ben is, again, in the Guinness World Book of Records for sales. Some of his feats, which is phenomenal, it's just truly amazing, is number one, he was the first person to sell over $10 million in insurance. That's in 56. In 59, it was 20 million. In, let's see. Actually, that was 1960, he did 20 million. In 1966, he did 50 million. In 69, he did 100 million. Ben Feldman wrote more insurance than 1,000 of the top 1,500 insurance companies in America. Okay? Again, wrote more insurance. This is in the 60s. He wrote more insurance than 1,000 of the 1,500 insurance companies that existed in America. Now, to top that, in the 70s, there were more insurance companies at that point, and there were 1,800 insurance companies. Well, he wrote more insurance than 1,500 of the 1,800 insurance companies that existed, which is truly phenomenal. I mean, the guy he's a legend. I always say Ben Feldman is a legend in the business where there is no legends. And this is talking about this article for those of you that are looking at the screen. This is an article that basically states Ben Feldman, the legendary insurance salesman from New York Life, was written up in the Guinness World Book of Records as the greatest salesman in the world. In his best years, he was selling more than $100 million worth of life insurance one-on-one to individuals by using what has come to be called the Feldman Method. So this guy is absolutely phenomenal. Now, how did he do this stuff? I'm going to go to another article here. All right. Let's see. This is just an example. Ben Feldman, he had a guy. This is a guy, he sold him about $15 million worth of insurance. Actually, it was a $14 million policy, as it says here on this article. And a few years later, he was selling the guy more. And he was selling him. He took the guy to $52 million in life insurance total. Well, when he went back, he couldn't nail the guy down. The guy's a busy executive. He couldn't nail him down. The guy owned a manufacturing company, I think. So what he did was, it says, and I'll read it here. And a few years later, Ben decided the same businessman needed another $20 million in coverage, but the man, busier than ever, refused to make time for a required exam. So Ben rented a fully equipped medical van in Chicago, hired a doctor, and sent both to wait for the man. Now, there's more to this story. Actually, that medical van broke down the first time, and then when they did get it there, the guy wouldn't come out into the medical van, so Ben Feldman just left the van parked there and paid to have it parked there for at least several days until he finally got this guy. He had a saying that it wasn't if he would sell you, it was when he would sell you. So Ben Feldman, he's again a legend in a business where there are no legends. Legends unbeknownst to people outside of this business, that would be. So what do I take from this? And, this is a person worthy of praise, without a doubt. If you were to read more about Ben Feldman, you would see that he was not your Cary Grant. I'll use famous people of his era, Cary Grant or Rock Hudson looking guy. He was smaller, a shorter man, mild-mannered man. He had a lisp. He was so shy that when he first started doing speaking engagements, to, I guess, share his success, he stood behind a screen and gave his presentation. They said a lot of times when he was with a group, he wouldn't even speak. He was fidgety and nervous and wouldn't speak. So this kind of goes in contrast. And what's real interesting, I was reading somebody put made a post on the insurance forum recently where they said they're getting out of the business because obviously they're just too shy. I actually responded to that article by saying, well, no, you're not too shy. It just wasn't your business, because this isn't a business. When I came in this business, I was actually scared. It wasn't a matter of being shy, but I was scared. But getting back to my, I guess the point I want to make about this, Ben Feldman was on a mission. He wanted to be the best at his craft, and he was the very best. So when we as insurance agents, and I see all too often that people are comparing themselves to others, and most of the time it's about the money that they make. And that's really what I want to get to here. So too often agents will feel bad or maybe better than, or maybe just inferior, or just struggle because they're not making as much as agent B or C or D. Or maybe they'll feel better than agent B or C or D because they're making more money than. Be very careful of comparisons. And I want to talk a little bit about money. And in this article here I pulled, this is for those that are not looking at the screen or at the video as I'm talking. I have a study that I posted here, and it says the results showed that up until an income of somewhere between $60,000 and $75,000 in 2010, more money was associated with feeling a little bit more happy. Actually, on a sidebar, this is the second time I'm having to do this video because the first time I did it, my mic was turned off. And I always check the mic ahead of time, and I normally don't do videos this long. And when I do it, the mic's turned off. So anyhow, and of course, I think that the first cut was much better, and it was. So you making up to say $75,000. Let's say in 2018 dollars, say $75,000 or $80,000. You probably do feel better because you're making more money. And you're able to pay the bills. Up to that point, you're probably struggling. And that's where people have issues. There's marital fights, divorces, people drink, even do drugs, all kinds of just anxiety, anger. Just people, it's very tough on people when they can't pay their bills. So that probably reflects why up to that point, the more money equals more happiness. But so really, again, how much is enough? I have four numbers on the screen: $75,000, $250,000, $500,000, or $5 million. Which number do you think would result in the person being the happiest? Now, if you have to stop and think about that for 1 second, that says something, doesn't it? Because you would think that you would say, if more money equaled more happiness, you would immediately say the person that makes $5 million a year is definitely happier than the person that makes $500,000 or $250,000 or $75,000. But that's not the case, is it? And we know that. We know that's not the case. So how much is enough? Well, it's not about the money. It's about, let me go to the next screen here. It's about a sense of accomplishment. And you'll see Ben Feldman, he doesn't necessarily talk about making money. He talks about being the best. He talks about selling dollars at a discount. And if you're not familiar with how he sold insurance, he had a concept of selling dollars at the cost of pennies. So he would say, well, for every dollar is only going to cost you 3 cents. So why wouldn't you buy more of it? But it was these things that he created. That's what he was all about. He was a workaholic, but it was his sense of accomplishment that he was after. So again, what truly matters is a sense of accomplishment and living a meaningful life. And this is just this is my interpretation. I have several books that I go to. I've had this Ben Feldman book for at least 25 years, and I always reference this book for motivation and for, shall we say, somebody to look up to. This is a person worthy of looking up to. Somebody makes more money than you or I. That's not a person worthy of looking up to. It's the person that has true meaning, a sense of accomplishment. And Ben Feldman does. I repeatedly have read and actually have the audio file for Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which very much feeds into the living a meaningful life is what matters most, more than anything else. Again, not how much money you have. So what's the point of this? Why am I rambling on about this? It's that, again, comparing yourself to others is not going to serve you well at all, unless you're looking at somebody that has values or accomplishments that you would like to perhaps mimic or that you aspire to achieve yourself. You need to have your own accomplishments and create your own meaningful life. And that's what's going to make you happy. In this business, it's easy to do. You can build an agency. It could be about your personal production, about building a system that's successful. It doesn't, again, if you get into the money side of it, you're going to be disappointed. And I'm sure there are people that disagree with that. And that's perfectly fine. And, I'm not saying that they're wrong. This is what I have determined over the years and through my studies that makes sense. So listen, I'm going to awkwardly end the video now, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Goodbye.